Two humorous nurses would like to acknowledge the true custodians of the land in which we record our podcast, the Yorta Yorta people.
We pay our respects to elders past and present and extend our respects to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islanders listening today. Always was, always will be Aboriginal land. Dermal Therapy knows when your skin feels uncomfortable, you feel uncomfortable. They've created products that actually work, that make your skin feel better and you feel better so that you can live your life with confidence doing the things you love. Head to www.dermaltherapy.com.au. Two Humorous Nurses with Kelly and Alicia.
The podcast that knows not to throw petrol on a fire.
Welcome to Two Humorous Nurses, where we plan to bring you funny, informal, conversational chat about all things nursing.
Injuries. ED nurses have seen them all, from dislocated fingers to gunshot wounds. People injure themselves in the silliest and sometimes simplest of ways, don't they, Kelly?
Sure do. Have you ever had a gunshot wound?
In theatre, but not in ED.
I had one, and it was around Christmas, and it was just like they rang and said, "Oh, he's been shot," and I was like, "Don't come here." But he walked in. It was a bit of a ricochet.
Yeah.
The bit was lodged in his sternum.
Oh,
yeah. It was, and he was like like what do you call those students that go international for a term?
International.
Nah, you know, like when you, anyway,
an
whatever.
exchange
student
yeah.
from America. And she's like, how do I tell the parents? I was like, I'm pretty sure they're American. They're used to it. Yeah. Gunshot wound, man. Anyway, today we're going to talk about, we're sort of loosely going to talk about holiday injuries. You know, where you get together with your mates, you have a few bevies, maybe play like a couple of rounds of clothesline roulette. Have you ever played that?
Yeah, with your car
squad. Yeah, Fruity Alexia was our choice. And then one thing leads to another and you get a broken leg or just really drunk.
In your opinion, like when do you think are the most common injuries bound to happen?
When? Like
yeah,
what?
like at what holiday? Like what special occasion do you think people are most likely to get injured?
Most holidays.
Yeah. Because people do dumb shit when they're on holidays and when they're drunk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're like especially if you're like going on a holiday or a vacation.
Yeah, you take more risks.
You take way more risks. Like Cam went bungee jumping. Do you know how many people dislocate their ankles and detach their retinas bungee jumping?
Really?
I mean, nothing happened except that he threw up from nerves. And then he had to walk, because you'd get like lowered obviously down into the river in the canyon, and then you've got to walk up all the hundreds of steps to get back to the top. So he was fucking puffed by the time he got to the top of it. The like adrenaline had fully worn off.
So funny.
But yeah, I guess
I wondered because like you get these occasional presentations of like people who get steak stuck in their throat and stuff. Like I wonder if there's more of those kind of presentations, and then also like I guess my questions. It's like when people get gifts for Christmas or their birthday and stuff, and then they go and use them for the first time.
Well, there were a lot of Nerf gun injuries that I that I read about, like in their eyes.
In the eye, oh yeah.
Yeah, stuck up noses.
Oh. I was thinking like back to one that I remember of like someone who used their grandchild's slip and slide and ended up with a pneumothorax. I'm trying to think of any other ones that I've seen like around that period, but often like I feel like when you work a New Year's Day or you work a Christmas Eve or a Boxing Day, you're always like you're kind of waiting with bated breath of like what's going to come in the door. Yeah.
When I worked in country WA, we had BNS balls.
Yeah, of course.
So no one wanted to be
at work.
On work, and like we only had like a tiny hospital, so there was only ever 2 nurses on, and I was like on the BS ball committee in our town, so I was like helping run it.
Oh my God. I mean, hang on, if anyone doesn't know what a BNS, what is it?
So it's a bachelor and spinsters ball. Back in the day, I think it was very you know, that's where you went to meet a farm boy, but
why were they called bachelor and spinsters?
Because bachelor and spinsters went.
But spinsters means like old unmarried.
Well, no, I just think it meant unmarried.
Okay, sure.
But
bachelor sounds so glamorous and spinster sounds so old.
So obviously I was like heavy in the BNS scene in the early 2000s.
Listen to it.
And
it's just a really good excuse. In WA, I think it's very different to Victoria, but you go get like really drunk in the line. Oh. So you line up maybe even the night before the event.
Sounds like me at a wedding.
You just get smashed. You shoot like food dye at each other. So like not only do you get drunk and dirty because you're just peeing in the bushes and it's dusty and country, you're like covered in food dye. So my blonde hair, I'd have to go back to work as a nurse, very professional, with like multicolour hair.
Everyone knew you'd been to be this.
Yeah, and then you just, get really drunk and you always just hook up with random people. And there's always a car that ends up on fire. Oh. Like at one of the BNSs, I was so drunk that I like didn't know where to find my ute. And so I just laid down next to a ute and had a little nap and then woke up an hour later and tried to find my ute again. Anyway, they were very fun. And there were so many injuries.
Yeah,
many injuries. Dislocations because people would ute surf.
Oh. As in like stand on a ute or in the back of a ute.
No, get pulled behind a ute in the paddock like doing on like a torn up beer carton. Oh so like you're on cardboard. Yeah, mate. It's get sunburn as fuck because you don't care because you're drunk and you're just getting your tits out. Like it's very Australian, very country Australian. It's like a rite of passage. And now I think about like
I've been in a relationship since I was 20, 21.
I think about all the gross things. Sorry if my dad listens to this, but all the like sex that I had with people that are like dirty.
Ew.
And now I'm like, have you showered? Like don't touch me. Like this is no.
That was like one reason I really didn't want to have sex with people after like going clubbing and stuff because I'm like, oh, I'm sweaty, you're sweaty.
I know. And you want me to like put what in my mouth?
Sorry, Gary.
Anyway, the reason we decided to come up with this episode was because we saw on Instagram, obviously, all the 4th of July stuff in America with x-rays of like hands being blown apart by people holding fireworks, which we don't have in Australia. They're actually illegal, except in Darwin or the Northern Territory on May Day.
We have fireworks on like special occasions that the government pays for, but we don't.
Them.
People have backyard fireworks that they get on the black market
illegally. Yeah, but it's not something that you can just go and buy. Like when Cam went to America in 2019, he and his mates bought a heap of fireworks just because they could.
Oh, that's cool.
And then set them all off like the one with the little dog that you light up its ass and then it poops out the trail. Like
I know nothing about fire. I've never even seen a firework in its raw form.
No.
Because I'm a good girl. Actually, when I was a kid, we used to crush up sparklers. You know those birthday sparklers? Oh. We used to get a little hammer and break off all the sparkle stuff from the wire.
The gunpowder?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know, whatever it is. And then, so we would get like packets and packets and packets of them. Then we'd get a glass jar. Do not ask me how I even fucking know how to do this.
Bomb.
We made pipe bombs. Get a glass jar, wrap the shit out of it in duct tape, fill it with your sparkle bomb shit, then cut the wire off one of your sparklers.
Some real western suburb shit, isn't it?
This is what happens when you grow up in Werribee. And then I can't remember what we put on the top. Maybe we'll just duct tape the top, put a hole in it, put the sparkler in the top, light that first sparkler, off you run, and the whole thing would go and like would shoot up with flames. It would explode eventually once it got down to the bottom, but because you've duct taped the shit out of the glass, hopefully it doesn't like explode properly.
Shrapnel. But I have a story about how someone killed a family member by doing that exact same thing, but wait till you hear what they were doing to do it.
At least we would light the top of the sparkler knowing that it would take a little while to burn down, but then that's in an ideal world. You never know what's going to happen, I guess.
Lord. Right.
But that's why you don't throw petrol on a fire. I've just taught all of our listeners how to make a sparkle bomb.
A sparkle bomb. That's
what we used to call them. It's so Western suburbs.
All right. Well, you've got some stats.
Oh, yeah. So this episode didn't go how I thought it was going to go when I was researching. So I started looking up like, okay, well, injuries obviously can lead to death, right? and hospitalisation. So then I had a look. I wanted to know what the statistics were. So injuries caused 538,000 hospitalisations just in 2021 to 2022. So like in that year. And
Say that again. 500,000
injuries caused 538,000 hospitalisations in 2021.
Is this in Australia?
Yes, Australia only.
500,000 hospital admissions or presentations.
Yeah, so admissions.
That's like way more than I thought.
But that's injuries of any kind. So that's including like a fall.
Oh, okay.
So,
yeah, but still, that's a lot.
Injuries caused almost 14,000 deaths in that same year period.
Oh, see, that's less than I thought.
14,000 deaths by injury.
I suppose that is...
That's 54 people per 100,000.
I was just about to find that stat out. That's quite a lot.
I think that's significant, but it's probably... I looked at the research as well. Like, it doesn't usually change much.
No.
And especially... And then I looked at seasonally. So then, okay, are there seasons or, like, times of the year when people are more likely to get injured and then die?
Like summer, because you do dumb shit in summer.
Well, that's what I looked at. So actually, the total number of hospitalisations for injuries doesn't actually change much with the seasons. And data for the 3 most recent years, so that's including COVID, they suggest slightly lower numbers.
Yeah.
But slightly,
we weren't allowed to go anywhere.
But slightly lower numbers between July to October, which surprises me because the footy grand final, but that's only Victoria. The footy grand final is in that time. I imagine that the NRL, is that what it is? I don't even know.
But even just local footy. Like, that's a local footy. Yeah, every state has local footy.
Well, I suppose, yeah. So, yeah, it surprised me that that at the grand final time, it doesn't seem to be greatly
increased.
Yeah. And then there was a dip in January, but that January dip in 2021 to 2022 was larger than in the previous 2 years. So I'm curious as to why that would happen in 21-22. But it could be that because of restrictions on travel, business and social interactions because of COVID, that the restrictions coincided with a temporary drop in injury hospitalisations, which is interesting. It's like, stop people from doing stuff and you'll stop them from being idiots.
It's all the government's plan.
It's always socialising, so maybe it's all like peer pressure.
And alcohol.
But for some injury categories, the number of hospitalisations does change with the seasons. So for things like transport, that doesn't really MVAs and stuff doesn't really have any impact. However, in January is usually, so January 2020 to 2021 was the highest, that had the highest rate of hospitalisations for car accidents, which is mostly the time when people go on holidays. Most people are visiting family on the road, so it makes sense. But if you look at the other years, January wasn't the highest. So there's a comparison. So it's interesting depending on the injury. So lots of things didn't have any. And then I thought, drowning and submersion, right? So drowning and submersion, it always peaks between November and February.
Yeah, I mean.
Always. And that's because more people are swimming in that period.
Obviously, yeah.
Yeah. So it makes sense. And then for some reason there's a big spike in April. I don't know what. Is that because of Easter? People go swimming at Easter.
Or there's usually school holidays in April as well.
Yeah, potentially. Yeah. So that's a bit scary. 51% of admissions to hospital occur over summer.
Yeah.
For drowning and submersion injuries. Yeah, so I thought that's...
It's still only half. I would have expected it to be more, I guess.
That's 51% of them all. Of all the drownings. All the drowning and submersions.
I assumed it would be higher in summer. But yeah, that's...
Well, it is higher in summer, but then if you look, the other 50% is distributed
over
between the other 9 months.
Sorry.
Yep.
God, I'm
July's
not good at maths.
got the lowest.
Yeah, because it's fucking cold.
Yeah. But by state, I imagine it would be different as well.
Yeah,
because places like the Northern Territory and stuff. Yeah. Choking and suffocation, for whatever reason, spiked in late November, like an astronomical spike in 2021, 2022. There were 96 hospitalisations in the November, whereas most of the others is in the 70s. So that's a bit of an outlier. Anyway, I don't know if anyone's even interested in any of this. Thermal causes like burnings, etc., peaking in the winter months, so in May to July. 335 admissions per week for thermal causes like burns.
Sugar.
Crazy, hey, that's a lot. Contact with objects made me laugh, and there's a picture of a little man with something falling on his head.
Contact with objects.
Because I couldn't figure out, I was talking to Mick last night, I'm like, what would contact with objects be? And then, so there's contact with objects, which is 4,600 admissions per week on average, right? And the only thing I can think of is when things fall on your head, because there's this picture of this little man.
I wonder
with
if
something.
it's contact, from like things falling, or if it's like people hitting people, as if that's considered contact.
No,
with an
because
option.
then it's contact with living things is the next category. And assault is actually another category. So contact with living things has got a picture of a dog. Yeah. And that doesn't generally peak anywhere. That's pretty well standard throughout the seasons. And then electricity and air pressure. I looked at an article that was like, people are more likely to get electrocuted in November because they're putting up Christmas lights. I'm like, what? But no, pretty much hospitalizations for electricity and air pressure, they do peak in November to January. So I'm wondering if that's Christmas, New Year's related.
Maybe,
what are people doing with electricity? Kids poking things in holes. No one's watching them because everyone's drunk, so kids are poking things in.
Maybe things like fans and stuff like that. Maybe they're like
maybe
there's issues with.
Or like because it's so hot, people go out and like if the aircon's not working, maybe they go and reset the fuse box or something. I don't know. How do you electrocute yourself with a fuse box? Anyway, I don't know. Right. So then I thought at certain times of the year, because suicide is intentional self-harm was one of the categories, right? So I'm thinking, well, everyone was saying that COVID is making everybody kill themselves. And then I was sort of looking at death by suicide, right? Because it's one of the categories, and I kind of went down a rabbit hole. And I thought, like, are people more likely to self-harm at special occasions and stuff like that?
Yeah.
And it was really interesting. Peaks and troughs in rates and numbers of deaths by suicide historically coincide more or less with social and economical events. This actually surprised me way more. I thought it was a lot more personal, which, I mean, it is, and it's complex for lots of reasons why people self-harm and why they attempt suicide. But I thought it was really interesting because there were the greatest falls in the male suicide rate. They coincided with both the World Wars I and II.
Wow, because they were all off.
Well, because
the wars.
And then also they said that it could also be partly a statistical artifact because deaths from all causes that were during war, so even deaths by suicide were counted as like war deaths, and not counted as suicide.
And
deaths.
most men were sent to war, weren't
well,
they? If you
I
were
guess
of age,
yeah.
you were like whatever the word is.
I don't know what the word is. Forced to go to war.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it was interesting that there were both a rise in male and female suicide rates in the 40s. The highest rate for males in the last century occurred in 1930, which was because of the Great Depression. So mostly people couldn't get jobs and people didn't have money and they couldn't get food. And then also there was a rise in both male and female suicide rates in the 60s, which they were saying, and this blew my mind, and this is where my nursing brain was like, what the actual fuck? This was attributed in part to the unrestricted availability of barbiturate sedatives.
Oh,
yeah,
like almost like accidental suicide.
Well,
or
intentional
made it
because they
easier
could
to do
access.
it.
Yeah.
Oh,
so,
sugar.
Then subsequent falls in those rates in the 60s and early 70s have been in turn attributed to the introduction of restrictions to the availability of these drugs in July 1967. So then I was like, hang on, what are these?
I was literally about to say, what is a barbiturate drug?
So it is, I'll tell you because I got it here. They were first developed in 1864 and became a popular sleeping pill. So phenobarbital is the only one that I'd heard of.
Yeah.
And it's now used in anaesthetic.
Yeah.
Whereas I never even have used it in anaesthetic either. But between the 20s and the 50s, barbiturates were practically the only drugs used as sedatives and hypnotics. And sodium pentothal is a barbiturate often known as truth serum. In larger doses, it's been used in lethal injection executions.
Yeah, that's how I know it.
Right.
Yeah.
Sudden withdrawal from barbiturate drugs after becoming physically dependent can result in death. And then this is, I had another one. The popularity, they were really popular, but then suddenly they realised that even the slightest dose change could result in overdose. Like the margin between safe use and overdose was really, really small. And now vets use it to put animals to sleep as well.
Yeah.
Like to kill them, I'm guessing, not to anaesthetise them.
Very Interesting.
Yeah, so I'm like, shit. Like, it's interesting how things on a greater scheme and then I thought about COVID in that as well. Like, okay, well, people were speculating that the suicide rate had increased
because of all
because of COVID,
controls,
but there's actually been no proof of that. But at the moment, and we've got a lot better data now than we did have back during the Great Depression and things like that. So there's nothing to say that actually has had a direct impact. And I think probably the government providing like payments for people who weren't able to work and things like that might have had an impact, like a positive impact on people's mental health, that they were at least still getting money if they couldn't work. But then there was some information that people do try to harm themselves more at milestone birthdays, which I thought was interesting.
Oh, yeah.
So the influence, and they call it the birthday blues, on suicide may be particularly high when people reach a symbolic or milestone age such as 20, 30 and 40. Milestone birthdays are like people kind of reflect on their life and they take stock on what they've done, and especially when they're approaching that final year of the decade. They place more weight on their health and daily emotional experiences. The findings in these studies suggest that when people recognise that they've failed in life or they're anticipating failure in achieving their long-standing goals at milestone ages, then they might find little meaning and then become preoccupied with feelings of hopelessness. So then that's what and it was a Japanese study that said that people are higher risk of suicide at milestone ages compared to other ages. Yeah, I thought that was really interesting.
Yeah. That is really interesting.
And I know that this, again, is getting off. But
it's interesting if it's considered under the injury admission or the like accident admissions that you were saying, the stats included it in it.
And then if you look at the, like, this is so morbid. In Australia, there's more deaths in the winter months of June, July and August, and less deaths in the summer months of December, January and February. In 1999, each day in August averaged 400 deaths, whereas each day in February averaged 316 deaths. I don't know why this is so old. This was from the Australian Bureau of Statistics. Anyway, the very young and the very old more likely to die in winter, and diseases of the circulatory system, pneumonia and influenza and sudden infant death syndrome are all highly seasonal causes of death. Common causes of death among young adults such as motor vehicle accidents, suicide, drowning and assault more likely to occur in the warmer months. Deaths in Australia, get this, occur most frequently on Friday and Saturday.
I always say, could you imagine finishing your working week on the Friday afternoon and then dropping dead?
So then,
can you not drop dead Monday morning before you go to work?
I actually read something that people are more likely to kill themselves on a Monday, and I thought, well, that sounds fair.
Yeah. I don't want to do a whole week of work.
Don't want to do the whole week and then kill yourself.
Enjoy the weekend. Kill yourself. No, obviously
heart attack, suicide deaths occur most frequently on a Monday, whereas motor vehicle traffic accident deaths occur most frequently on the weekend. Yeah. Although excess winter deaths predominated for most of the 20th century, the 19th century saw an excess in summer deaths. And that was in parallel with the decline of infectious and parasitic diseases and the rise in diseases like circulatory and respiratory disease, which are more likely to cause death in the colder months. Interesting, hey?
So interesting.
I got really excited about
I know you did. You're like full. I read your notes and I didn't read your notes. I had to look to make sure we weren't doing the same stuff. Yeah. And I was like, wow, we have not done the same stuff.
And then I looked at, okay, well, what's the most common body part that people injure, right? And then is there a correlation between the body part and what they're
doing?
And then, because I'm like, I wonder if...
Did you find it?
Well, yeah. So in 2021 to 2022...
Can I guess?
Yeah, go.
Leg.
No.
Oh, hand.
Well, you would think, right? But while this is actually resulting in hospitalisation.
Oh,
so
okay.
If you... But there were... I'm pretty sure that hand... And depending on like the mode of injury...
Yeah.
So each mode of injury had a different most common site. So the contact with living things, hand and arm was the most common.
Okay. Oh, yeah, because people...
you'd by a dog exactly. Yeah. So... the head or neck was the body part most often identified as the main site of injury in hospitalisations. To some extent, this probably reflects the serious nature of head and neck injury. So 22% head and neck injuries resulted. So that's the most common. 117,000 of hospitalisations were due to head and neck injuries.
Yeah.
12% for trunk, 17% shoulder and arm. So almost the next most common. 15% wrist and hand, 20% hip and leg, 5% ankle and foot. And then I looked at this is where it goes even better. In hospital deaths. So, okay, these people are doing stupid shit, getting injured, and then they end up admitted to hospital and then they might die. That can be an indication of the severity of their injuries. Obviously, choking and suffocation had the highest rates of in-hospital death, which I suppose makes sense. So falls was next, and then intentional self-harm and undetermined intent, which I have no idea what that means.
Yep.
I guess I wonder, is that like poisoning or...
Maybe it's just maybe they didn't know what the intent was because they had passed away or something.
Yeah. Thermal causes, then transport, accidental poisoning, assault, other unintentional causes. So you've got undetermined intent and then other unintentional causes. Contact with objects, contact with living things.
Very interesting. That's not where I thought we would go at all.
No, I know. But I'm glad that you're covering like the lighter
Funny
side
stuff.
of things, because I feel like the more I got into this, the more I was like, this is totally relevant and this is totally interesting. But
it's super interesting.
Yeah.
I hadn't thought about hospitalisation side of it, and it just surprised me that there's like over 500,000
injuries resulting in hospitalisation. Pretty crazy, eh?
Yeah.
Injuries are the leading cause of death for people aged 1 to 44.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Pretty crazy, hey?
I would not have said that. Actually, I don't know what I thought would be the leading cause of death for that age group.
Interestingly enough, the falls
Is the highest? Yeah.
1 to 44.
Every holiday that I researched had falls as the one of the number one things. And whether it was like fall from your house roof putting on Christmas lights or
Well, then contact with objects was the next one, and I wonder if that's like things falling on children
or
too.
knives or stuff.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
Like when you're carving out your pumpkin and smash your thigh with it. Not that we do that because we don't do Halloween.
But I really thought that car accidents like that
would be high.
That motor vehicle accidents would have been the highest cause of death for young people, but it's
Same.
not. It's falls. Falls is the cause of death in general, but yeah, I thought it was so interesting that it's the injuries I guess injuries from car accidents, injuries from things falling, injuries from your fall, I suppose. So injuries in general.
Yeah. And if you watch
lots of categories.
If you watch like the ER TV shows, they're always falling off roofs,
Falling off horses,
falling off. So, and they always come in and they all need a neck brace and they all need a CT scan and they all need to be checked for abdominal bleeding because they could die.
We worked with a nurse who fell off the second step of a ladder and never worked again.
Fuck.
Yeah. I'll tell you who that is after this.
Second step of a ladder.
You
can fall, and a fall could be anything. Fall could be like trips of falls.
Yeah. Michael fell off a ladder at work one day and didn't tell me about it until like that night when he was really stiff and sore and like, he's like, yeah, I fell off the top of a ladder.
Wow.
And his mum was even holding the ladder and he still fell
Did he fall on her?
Bloody hell.
Break your fall. That's what mums are for.
Jeez. Anyway, shocking.
I had a silly holiday injury once.
I bet you did.
I went on holiday straight after night shift to Broome, fell asleep on the beach as soon as I got there. Next thing I woke up, burnt to crisp, blisters and everything.
Did you get onto the Dermal Therapy Redness Relief Cream? It's clinically tested, has 4 natural soothing complexes, including aloe vera, and has skin-loving ingredients like vitamin E and niacinamide. Hey, hot tip, if you keep it in the fridge, it adds an extra cooling touch when applied to your sunburnt or irritated skin.
Wow, that sounds like it would have been super soothing and take that sting out, but also reduce the redness, which was exactly what I needed. I wish I had that.
I wish I had a photo of you.
Oh, God. Check out the Redness Relief Cream along with many other products, including our faves, the SPF Lip Balm and the Platinum Heel Balm, which I've been using for a couple of weeks, and everyone knows my heels are trash and they look amazing.
I've been using the hand balm on my feet, and even that's working. So I can imagine the heel balm must be really good.
Also, my tattoos look so good from the very dry skin cream that I've been using on my arms.
They're like more vibrant now.
Yep.
Actually, yeah, your skin. I do notice sometimes your skin on your tats are quite dry. I'll have to look now properly. Dermal Therapy is Australian made and owned, clinically proven and dermatologist recommended. Dermal Therapy is high quality skincare for all skin types at a purse-friendly price. Do you know how many Dermal Therapy products I have used in my life and didn't actually realise until now? Like, I put it all together. I'm like, oh yeah, I have used this before. Oh yeah, I've got the heel balm stick. Like, and I literally have their products like in my
so good. I actually
already
love them.
They're so good.
Yeah.
And head to www.dermaltherapy.com.au and have a look. They've got everything.
Everything. Right. Let's lighten the mood. Lighten the mood. So,
I know your holiday story was pretty enlightening.
No, do you want to know more about that? Like, I used to take myself on little holidays. I used to go to Broome and Melbourne, which is ironic that I lived in both places. But anyway, I went to Broome. I did a night shift, drove to the airport, got changed out of my uniform in the toilets at the airport, grabbed my bag, jumped on a plane at like 10 o'clock in the morning, flew to Broome, dumped my shit in the hotel, went straight to Cable Beach, and then promptly fell asleep. I had like a massive swim, fell asleep. Fell asleep by myself. I used to all the time.
Fuck off.
Laying on my tummy. I had like just little like bathing shorts and a like a singlet tankini top type thing, right? Fell asleep, arms up, thing. So the tops of my shoulders and the the top half of my back and the backs of my arms. And then all down the back of my legs.
Oh.
Brutally sunburnt. Because I put cream everywhere except there, obviously, because I was by myself and couldn't reach it.
And you thought, I'll just fall asleep on my stomach.
Well, I didn't mean to fall asleep. I was just laying there reading my book and then I fell asleep. So then I go back to the hotel and I get in the pool and I like hang out in the pool for a couple of hours.
You don't realise how burnt you are.
No idea that I'm like, I know I'm burnt, but I don't know I'm that burnt. Get out of the pool, get in the shower, moisturise up, go out for dinner, go back by myself. I was staying at the hotel attached to the bar. Go back to the hotel room.
Of course you were.
Go to bed. Wake up in the morning in fucking agony. I have blisters on the backs of my thighs.
Oh.
I cannot move my arms because like that crease near my armpit is like burnt.
Oh my God, I feel sick.
I laid in there thinking, do I go to the hospital? What do I do?
Go and have a cold shower.
I'm vomiting and I'm febrile.
No.
Like full sunstroke. So I just basically get in the shower. I like have no one to put cream on my back.
Oh.
So I put cream on the tiles of the bathroom and like kind of rub my back along it.
It would have been so sore.
I covered up in like this big T-shirt thing and went to the supermarket and bought a ton of like water and snacks because I'm like, I can't leave my hotel room. When the sun went down, I went and laid in the pool because it was like nice and cold. And then I just kept quiet. But I was so sick. Like it made me so sick. I spent 2.5 days in there.
I don't know how you didn't go to the hospital.
Well, I should have, but I was so embarrassed.
Yeah, of course.
I was quite young, like early 20s. Anyway, by the time I got home, the pain had gone, obviously, but the blisters were still there. And I'd gone into work and one of the residents, we had like the switch around of all the residents and he'd just done 6 months on a burns unit.
Oh.
And I was like, mate, can you
come here?
Can you peel the blisters? Because I'd picked the blisters off my legs, but I couldn't get the blisters off my back. And there was this one big one in the middle. It was like a massive blister. So I said to him, can you please debride it? And he's like, yeah. So we go like into the treatment room and I like pull my dress down and he like full debrides it off and then like dresses it with Fixamol, which you're not allowed to do anymore, but like literally cover Fixamol on it so it can leak, but it's protected.
Yeah.
And like, yeah, it took me ages. Like now I'm so sun smart because I'm like, horrific.
I'm exactly the same. I fear sunburn so much because I had so like horrific experiences as a teenager with sunburn. And
I'm
so
like
now I
full
fear it so much that
rash vest. I couldn't care
same.
less.
I wear my hat in the pool now. Like,
I like get
please.
sun cream and like full. I just bought some spray sun cream for Bali because I'm like, there's no way.
No.
Anyway, my injury stories are not what we're here for,
I
but
can't wait to hear this.
so I focused on a couple that I thought were funny, but obviously Christmas is like my favorite time of year. I have a lot of Christmas trees, I have a lot of Christmas lights, and now I'm terrified. But basically,
your Christmas trees are a fire hazard.
100%. In America, they I did just a little bit of research, not too much, but in between 2013 and 2015, there was an annual average of about 100 Christmas tree fires, resulting in 10 deaths, 10 injuries, and over $12 million of property loss per year.
Whoa.
Like, anyway, crazy.
What are they doing to their
Well, it's the lights. Some people use candles and they use real trees so they dry out if they're not kept watered, like all these things. And in Switzerland, people prefer, well, this is what I don't know if it's true. If you're in Switzerland, you can let me know. But the article said that the people of Switzerland like to use candles versus lights.
Whoa.
Like, I just would never put a candle near a tree. Anyway.
I barely want to put a candle in my house because I'm so scared. I set my bedroom on fire as a kid. Like, anyway, long story.
The US Consumer Product Safety Commission, the US Consumer Product Safety Commission data showed that there were over 18,000 injuries associated with holiday decorating.
Well, clearly they're not doing their jobs very well.
So the most frequent of the holiday decorating incidents were falls, lacerations, and sprains or strains.
Let me guess, the falls from people like decorating their house.
Yeah, of course,
from, like,
of
falling
ladders and stuff. Yeah. So I read
lacerations from carving the turkey. Stuff.
I did a Google of like funny Christmas injuries, and it came up with a person on the amazing race called Christmas who injured herself. And then there was like this whole big debate on Reddit about whether she really injured. And I was so confused because I was like, who is Christmas competing on the amazing race? And then I realised it was also, a person, not a...
Are you actually allowed to call your kid Christmas?
Oh, it turns out you can. So one that I actually personally...
I'll write that down.
Yeah, add that to your list. Personally... am aware of in 2013, and I just happened to be working in the trauma department of a major Perth hospital that day. I was doing a psych special. I wasn't doing any trauma nursing. I was like specialing a psych patient. And a 29-year-old man had been from Kalgoorlie, had climbed the 8-metre Christmas tree that was in the middle of Kalgoorlie's CBD and fell off the tree 8 metres. And he basically fractured everything on the right side of his body.
Oh my God.
So right leg, right hip, right shoulder, pelvis, and facial injuries. And it was funny because on that shift one of my friends was working, and she's like, we just had a man brought in that fell off a Christmas tree. And I was like, wow. And then I was Googling it because I remember telling you about it. And I was like, I Googled like Perth tree, and I knew it was before I'd had Amelia. So I was like, yeah.
You roughly what year it was.
Yeah. So then that was pretty funny. And then another one which caught my eye was another Reddit story of a couple who decided they were going to use a glass ornament as a dildo.
Oh.
And it shattered internally.
Oh.
And apparently this is what it was written as. Apparently the story spread around the hospital like Santa delivering presents on Christmas Eve.
It would. I feel like sometimes privacy and confidentiality doesn't apply when things are really funny.
Well, if someone doesn't leave the hospital, it's fine, isn't it? The 6 most bizarre Christmas injuries, according to the Daily Mail. So take that as you will.
Sorry,
an anonymous 4-year-old girl put a metal bell in her ear so she could listen to Jingle Bells. A 28-year-old woman was putting an ornament up in a bar when the stool slipped from under her, causing vaginal trauma on the landing.
I've actually seen a few cases like of vaginal trauma from falls.
Yeah. I have this fear. We have our shower is like you got to step into a corner spa to shower, and I have this fear of me getting out when I'm all slippery And like landing and damaging, and then an ambulance having to be called, and I'm like naked on the floor of my shower with like a bleeding vagina.
Oh, you poor thing. My friend's little girl actually like fell in the bath and landed on a bath toy and like tore her labia. Yeah.
Ow.
Yeah, awful, hey. And actually you say that, I've seen someone who stepped out of the bath and did the split.
Ooh.
And actually it was the shower, and like, you know, the shower gem.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I've seen that.
Owie.
Fanny's precious and highly vascular.
Highly
Bleeds
vascular.
a lot.
Yes. A 36-year-old man accidentally swallowed a drawing pin when he was putting up a Christmas decorations when he looked up and sneezed.
Could you imagine? You know, it's like when a fly goes in your mouth and you don't know if you've swallowed it or not. Do you reckon it'd be the same thing?
This one makes me laugh because I feel like it could be me. But a lady sprained her foot after dropping a 4-foot wooden Santa on it.
I don't think I've had any Christmas injuries. I mostly just take naps on Christmas.
Yeah. A 50-year-old woman was standing on a chair hanging Christmas lights, fell, struck her rectum on the tree branches, which caused a rectal tear.
Oh, man.
66-year-old man was working from home, was left dizzy after the wind reportedly
bowled him over?
Yeah, blew him around and around. Could you imagine that? A big old gust of wind. This was like, poof.
Well, you ever see those willy willies? Imagine if you were standing in the middle one. You didn't.
That's so funny.
So what, he just got dizzy?
Yeah, it didn't even hurt himself. I'm like, that does not deserve to be on the list, Daily Mail. They just gave up by 6. They were like, fuck that. We're done.
Oh, my God.
Now, gender reveal parties.
Tell me.
Firstly, let's not, but anyway. So this one's from 2021. Friends gathered on a boat in Cancun to watch as a plane flew above the water, trailing a sign saying, "It's a girl."
Oh, my God.
Excitement quickly turned to horror when the plane nosedived into the ocean, killing both the pilot and the co-pilot.
That is fucking devastating.
Yeah.
I wonder if they were girls.
It was a girl. Stop. Someone got upset because we laughed at like someone while we were telling a dying story, but you understand, they clearly weren't a nurse. 2020, a pyrotechnic device being used for a big announcement combined with the hot, dry Californian climate, obviously a recipe for disaster. The gender reveal party went up in flames, literally starting a fire that burnt 22,000 acres in California, killing a firefighter.
Oh, man.
The couple are now facing 1 charge each of involuntary manslaughter.
Oh, man. All because you wanted to have a selfish fucking
Don't even know if it was a boy or a girl. So gender reveal not done. And he didn't even complete it. 2019, this is your pipe bomb. When created a device to reveal their baby's gender in a cloud of coloured smoke, the Iowa couple inadvertently built a pipe bomb using gunpowder and metal tubing. Oh. The explosion sent metal pieces flying in the air, one of which tragically hit the guest and it killed her instantly.
Oh.
It was the grandmother of the child.
What?
They killed instantly.
Fuck.
They'd
be facing charges too.
I imagine so. Could you imagine?
They should have grown up in Werribee. They would have known exactly
how to do it.
I wonder if
Iowa's like... it blows my, like, you see those things, like there was so many stories. There was one, but they weren't really injured. No one really got injured, but like someone was doing a burnout with tires that do colour smoke. Then the car caught fire and everyone had to run to safety. There was multiple that turned into huge fires because they, set this, like one went off and it looked like a bomb. Like I watched the video and they just set, like they were obviously setting fires to like fireworks or something, but when they ran around it literally was like a huge bomb and then the entire paddock just caught fire. Apparently that burnt nearly 56,000 acres as well. God. And wherever it was. Like
at my 10th birthday, my brother popped a party popper on my ass and it like created a welt and I cried and in front of all my friends. This was like while I'm blowing out my candles. Like, what a fucking arsehole. There's
injury.
My birthday injury.
And another very American one, Halloween. There's 3,200 injuries during Halloween every year in the US.
That doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, not as many as I would
Especially
have thought.
people like jump scaring and you fall over and crack your head. That would be me.
55% are related to pumpkin carving.
Bullshit.
25% are due to falls while
people
working
be using
with
fucking
decorations.
chainsaws to carve their pumpkins because they're dumbasses.
Tripping on costumes and walking while trick-or-treating. So many people get hit by cars while walking for trick-or-treating.
Oh, my God.
20% are miscellaneous, like lacerations, ingestions, other injuries related to costumes, pumpkins, decorations, allergic reactions, and rashes.
Oh, yeah, I bet.
54% were adults, 46% were under 18, and 10% were kids 6 or younger.
I did actually briefly look up schoolies.
Yeah.
There has been one schoolies-related death each year.
Yeah. That doesn't surprise
that's
me.
enough to not send, for me to not ever want to send my kid to
Yeah.
schools. I mean,
didn't
there's
do
pretty good
schoolies.
statistics, really, because there's probably 1 million kids that go to
Yeah.
schools. But
Still.
that's like falls from balconies, like
It's like the city to surf.
Overdose.
People die at the end of the city to surf all the time.
because of exhaustion.
Heart-related shit.
Oh, yeah, of course. Jesus.
Um,
So don't exercise and
don't go to
Don't send your kids to
schoolies.
school.
Don't have any fun. A 4-year-old girl and her 42-year-old father were hospitalised after they were badly burnt lighting a pumpkin. The man was holding his it's his girlfriend's child. Sorry. The man was holding his girlfriend's child in his arms while he tried to light the pumpkin. The man had hollowed out the pumpkin and sketched a design on the outside. Then he turned the pumpkin upside down and put the grill lighter inside to show the little girl what it looked like. As this was happening, fumes built up inside the pumpkin because the face had not been carved out properly. Since the fumes had nowhere to go, a flash fire occurred in the pumpkin and exploded. The man suffered first and second degree burns on his abdomen and genital area. And the child suffered first and second degree burns on her face and her right arm.
oh, darling.
How, horrific. There were so many stories about people carving and then, stabbing into their thighs or lacerating their hands.
We bought my sister-in-law really good knives, like Japanese steel knives, for her birthday. And every time we visit them, her and her husband have got Band-Aids on their fingers.
I use the knives that I got for my 30th birthday. I have literally never been sharpened once.
Oh, fuck.
Just turned 45.
Wow. Yeah, well, these knives are amazing.
Yeah, I would
Chef
like
knives.
some of them, yeah.
And it's so intimidating. I had to cut a cob loaf.
Oh.
And I was so scared.
Well, those holiday injuries didn't disappoint. People are so
I've actually
dumb.
seen a lot of kids who fall in fireplaces.
Yeah.
I don't see them at the time. I see them often
Post.
later.
Yeah.
I think a lot of I think in America there would be, well, I mean, even in Australia too. I wonder if there's lots of barbecue related
Probably.
injuries.
Yeah, I would
And,
imagine so.
I've seen a few soup related injuries actually. It's not particularly Christmassy, not in Australia, but no,
Too funny. I really like that. It didn't go anywhere near where I thought it was going to go.
And I want to know other people's experience. I want to know.
Tell us your holiday
who's
injury.
listening. Yeah, did you ever get injured
Yeah.
while participating in a seasonal holiday,
Seasonal holiday.
special occasion?
Yeah. Do it.
Or tell us about your patients that you see. Do you work every Christmas? I want to know. My
Yeah.
brother's a cop. We should interview him about shit that they see.
Yeah.
At Christmas.
Exactly. Exactly.
If you love us as much as a public holiday piss up, please go rate us 5 stars on the podcast platform.
Give us a follow on Instagram at Two Humorous Nurses Podcast and send us your favourite stories, feedback, and just a general hello to our email hello@twohumorousnurses.com. That's humorous like the bone, HUMERUS.
Bye.
Bye.